So this is the L100 concept. It's sort of going to show the vision of where Lincoln goes in the future as it electrifies itself.
Yes.
Is that the case? Is that what you kind of how you see it?
I think the biggest change in our industry isn't really electrification. It's more partial autonomy coming together with a software updatable vehicle. I mean, zero emission and going to a digital powertrain, that's great, but the real change in our industry is going to be using your interior differently than what you think. Kind of like in 2007 when we first started using smartphones, totally changed how we made a call. It never was the same again. It's about to happen with cars, and especially on the high end.
So these from the high end, with Lincoln especially, you see this as a reimagining of some sort of like living room, right? Where, not living room, but more like I was talking to your chief designer about how you arrive at a Lincoln, right?
Yeah.
It's getting there in style and in comfort, but then also, look, we'll be facing our passengers here, right? I mean, that's...
Yeah, I mean, if the federal government changes the laws, the safety laws, but I think what I'm excited about is that a lot of miles in cars are dead time. Mm-hmm. And no matter, I love cars, I love driving, but they're, on the way to the airport or way to work, sometimes I just want to do something else. And we're in a weird category of products where we can free up 45 minutes to an hour a person's time at a time when they're totally frantic and don't have any time. And we're seeing, especially in Asia, Lincoln China is now outselling North America handily. A lot more Chinese customers are spending more time in their vehicle not moving, to go on a date, transition from work to home. So the interior of the vehicle has always been super important, but it's not a couch, it's more of a digitally enabled experience where, frankly, we're building the electric architecture in such a way that we can ship software that we can't even imagine today. I don't know what's going to happen in the inside of a vehicle 10 years from now. And all I know, though, is that we need to ship software to it to make that happen.
So I know we're sitting in this car with 14-foot doors, a digital display down here that you could actually fly over the cloud. So the electric future is out there, and people are trying to envision it. But you've been really kind of spearheading the move in Ford.
Yes.
Ford proper, where you split the company into two operating units, Ford Model E and Ford Blue Oval, I believe, for the traditional cars.
Yes.
How is that going, that transition?
It's going well. I have no idea why other people wouldn't do it, because but there's going to be a big moment in like 3 or 4 months when we separate the financials. We're going to actually report how much money we make in both.
Right.
And that's going to be a really big moment of transparency. Where the other, so what, I was watching the company literally struggle with not a transmission engineer learning about batteries. It's just, it was going to take too much time. We don't have time. We're way behind. And so to catch up and pass, we need to specialize. And the digital world, not just, and we're insourcing so many components, power electronics, inverters, motors, gearboxes, plus, silicon now, AI silicon, the software, all the electric architecture is all being brought into the company. And the people who know how to do that aren't from the automotive space. They're from other industries. So we don't have the time to kind of take the traditional team and do that. On the other hand, we're really good at manufacturing at scale, and at quality too. So we don't want to be so separate we don't depend on each other. So it's going to be a tricky thing, but frankly, I had no idea how we would make this transition if we didn't specialize. It would just take too slow. I see the electric concepts here. They're not digital products. They look like ICE products. They have like big hoods.
Big hoods for no reason.
Yeah, like why? So I think it's just time we need to change the company so we get a different outcome.
So talking about changing the company and how you wanted speed, you want to do this faster.
Yes.
We're here at Pebble Beach, we're in Monterey, you're running to a lot of clients. What are they saying to you about that transformation? Are they excited about it? Are they kind of uncertain whether they want to go?
I get like both ends of the spectrum, to be honest. I had one customer go like, hey, why are we substituting our dependency on oil overseas with raw materials from overseas countries, why are you going electric? And I get other people like, it's about time you guys got it. The Lightning is like totally breakthrough. I never would have considered a Ford. Now I'm looking, I got an order for the Lightning. Like, thank God you guys get it. I always wanted Ford to do well, but you guys just didn't get it. So, but there's a lot more in the second category than the first. and frankly, the age difference is pretty obvious.
Yeah. Speaking of that second category, President Biden just this week signed the Inflation Reduction Act, which is going to extend some of these tax credits in some ways with some limits.
Big deal.
Yeah, big deal. What's your take on that? Is that something that's going to help the industry and help you guys?
It'll definitely help our industry. I would say our economists would be very favorable to what just happened. The biggest benefit isn't actually the EV consumer credits. It's the $35 per kilowatt hour support for battery production in the country. So kind of we're bringing the battery production. We could easily have done that in Mexico or some other place, and now there's a huge financial incentive, like doing the math between a battery plant in Mexico or overseas, and now in the US, completely flipped with this bill. It's a big deal. The CHIPS Act is going to be $50 billion for domestic foundries for semiconductors, another big deal. The consumer credits are interesting because there's half that you'll be able to, I think most people will be able to meet if you localize your batteries. And then there's half where the raw materials are going to have to be localized. But it takes 10 years to get a mine approved in our country.
Right.
So I have no idea. That's going to be a lot of work to localize the raw materials for batteries.
So waiting for Treasury to kind of give us guidance on how they want
that's right.
do that equation. But also, talking about commercial also, Ford, like Ford Pro, there's a big incentive for EV commercial vehicles. I know you guys are getting into that. So that, I guess, is a positive movement too.
I'm so glad you brought that up. Actually, it's going faster than all the electrification in the company. Like, we just sold our 3,000 e-Transit. We're 95% share of the e-vans in the US. And we don't make a big deal of it because there's a lot of new companies doing that, but we're 95% share now, and I think our competitors sold 160 vans. We're over 3,000 now. And the customers are going faster on commercial. They want data off the car, they want telematics, driver coaching, on internal combustion, they want fuel cards all automated. Our commercial customers are more into the digital change than the retail customers.
It's because maybe they see the benefits right away.
They do. 100% uptime, productivity for their people, so they can do other things, and they're paying for it.
So one last thing, Jim, I know you're a big car guy. We're in Pebble Beach. What are you excited to see here? What have you been driving today? I want to hear all about it.
I raced today with my 1978 Le Mans Lola 298 2-liter 4-cylinder.
Is that an open wheel car? Or is
open wheel. Racing at Le Mans back in the day, and then I have my Shelby Cobra. So race tomorrow too. Honestly, I'm so glad you asked that question because not many people do. But this is like a personal weekend for me because I put myself through graduate school working at Phil Hill's restoration shop, and all the mechanics, we would all come up here because we worked on these cars for 3 or 4 years. We did research for a year on many of them, and then we come up here and the mechanics weren't allowed in the show. So we would unload the cars, place them on the lawn. We'd all get up in the morning at dawn. We called the dawn control. Now there's a lot of people who do it. And we drive the car on the lawn, and then we were politely asked to leave. And I would stay here at the Monterey campgrounds with my wife. And so it brings me back to, for me, my original love of our industry, and frankly, how I paid for graduate school. And the people I learned the most about cars from were those mechanics. We're all making $8 an hour. I learned more about beauty and excellence in engineering from them than any of our fancy engineers. That's what this weekend makes me feel like wow, life really changed a lot for me.